Our text today is recorded in the 3rd chapter of the book of Judges. And after him was Shamgar, the son of Anak, which slew of the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad. And he also delivered Israel. The Bible book of Judges is a book of heroes. It tells the story of outstanding men and women who in storm and stress delivered their people from the enemies round about them. There were 11 of them in number. Mighty souls, men and women who strode across the pages of this history. Some of them are names that you will remember, and others perhaps not at all. But their exploits serve to inspire us, to strengthen and to steady the faint-hearted souls to the present day. The book of Judges spans a period of some 400 years, from the death of Joshua to the days of Israel's first king. These pages tell a story of a very chaotic and turbulent era in Israel's history. For no sooner had the people of Israel gained the promised land than they fell away from God, no longer felt a need for the Lord in their lives, and fell in step with the pagan nations among whom they lived. Then a pattern repeated itself again and again in weary fashion. They were oppressed by their enemies. They realized their wrongdoing. They cried again to God for help. And the Lord raised up for them judges or deliverers to set them free. These judges were men and women who lived in different places and at various times. But in every case, it was one individual whom God raised up to rally his people and to rout the enemies. The first was a man by name of Othniel, the son-in-law of the old soldier Caleb, who campaigned against Cushan, the king of the east, and overcame him. Then arose the left-handed warrior Ehud, whose longer story we shall save, God willing, for another Sunday. Then we come across this brief, short verse in the Bible that is our text. And after him was Shamgar, the son of Anak, which slew of the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad. And he also delivered Israel. Surely this must have been one of the most outstanding battles in all of world history. It staggers the mind to imagine it, to picture one man against 600, and the one man wins. There is so much we would like to know about the man Shamgar. What was the occasion, the setting for this near incredible act of daring and courage? But all we are given is this brief notice. Shamgar, son of Anak, struck down 600 Philistines with an ox goad. And he also delivered Israel. Did Shamgar on that day take his stand like Horatio at the bridge, or the Spartans in a narrow mountain pass where the enemies could come at him only 2 or 3 at a time? Perhaps. But the text reads like he was walking behind the oxen, plowing out in the fields of his father. Did a Philistine raiding party suddenly appear on the scene, bent on pillage and destruction? Did they heap some indignity upon this simple farm boy? Did they threaten injury to his father and family members? Or did they burn down the home place while Shamgar was out in the field? We know for sure only this, that Shamgar used as a weapon the cattle prod that he held in his hand. And he littered that plowed field with the 600 Philistine corpses. It is one measure of the man that he was out in the field. It takes courage to keep on plowing in an evil day. Plowing is hard, weary, and dirty work. But it was his work, his job, the only job that God had ever given him to do. So often, you and I suppose that we too could do great things for God if only we had a grand stage upon which to perform, more favorable setting, some wider role to play. To us, a desk in some school classroom or in an office seems so confining. A woman's kitchen, a truck driver's cab, a carpenter's bench, the four walls of some plant building or warehouse, to us seem so dull and commonplace we can't get anything noble done. And yet, it is in the commonplace that God makes the most uncommon wonders occur. Don't you remember? It was as the fishermen were washing their nets by the shore of Galilee. It was as the Samaritan woman went out on a day to draw water from the town well. It was as Matthew sat in his little tax booth by the side of the highway. It was as Dr. Luke practiced medicine in his little office down on the waterfront. Yes, and it was as Shamgar was plodding behind the oxen of his father that God came and gave and did wonders through the man. Take a person's life, any person's life, and what an uncommon amount of divine grace goes into that very common life. Take the most ordinary person, living the most ordinary life, and what an extraordinary amount of divine grace brings that person through. Our old people can tell you, just to journey through the years and all the seasons of sunshine and storm, of happiness and heartache, of good times and bad, and survive as a monument to God's care and keeping of us. There is a lavish and generous and ungrudging amount of goodness in our ordinary life. Who expects to live so long? Who deserves all of the loving and all of the laughter? And the help and the healing and the family and the friends and the loyalty and the courage and the wit. And they are all here in these ordinary lives of ours because God wills to give them to us. And He keeps adding more and more upon these ordinary lives of ours. And adds also this that Christ said, "It is also your Father's good pleasure to give unto you the kingdom." Ordinary lives are quite extraordinary. Now, an ox goad was not much of a weapon. In fact, an ox goad was not a weapon at all that anybody had ever heard of. An ox goad was an ugly instrument. Stem off of a tree, a stick of lumber, some 7 or 8 feet long, capped at the tip with a piece of sharp metal. It didn't look like anything. The Philistines didn't see anything but a farm boy with a stick in his hand. But they mistook both the boy and the stick and got behind them both. For an ox goad in Shamgar's hand must have been a sight to behold. Shamgar knew how to use an ox goad. Shamgar knew the feel of it and the heft of it. And in Shamgar's hand, and at close range, an ox goad was a terrible weapon. But it wasn't the weapon. The man that wielded it. It is always the man, the individual, and God in that man's life. You and I dream what we might do if only we had better tools to operate with. Better technology at our fingertips, better technique, strategy, a grand overview of the whole scene. Shamgar used an ox goad. Samson, the jawbone of an ass. David, a sling and a stone. And Moses, a mere shepherd's staff. There's a woman of our acquaintance who likes to say, "I must have been missing when the talents were handed out." Maybe. But that woman is sunshine in the lives of those around her. She has a way of putting people at ease and cheering their spirit. Now that may not be much of a talent to you, but it is a lovely talent and effective and important, because God can use anything that you have at hand. Anything that fits you and that you are familiar with. God can use the humblest dwelling, the scantiest meal, the slimmest portion, the ugliest implement, the most despised tool. Look at that lunch bag of barley loaves that a little boy once gave to Jesus, and what he made out of it. And the widow woman who cast but 2 small mites into the treasury box. God used the loneliness of the man Joseph down in Egypt and the heartrending loss of the woman Naomi in the land of Moab He used even the tears of the woman who once came to anoint him but broke down weeping instead. He used the empty nets of those weary fishermen who toiled all the night and had taken nothing. St. Paul hated that thorn in the flesh, as he called it, 3 times pleading for its removal from his life, and received instead the assurance, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Look what God did with the wooden beams of a cross. He wrought for you and me an incomparable salvation. And that cross of Christ, a despised implement, still works to the confusion of all of our foes and drives away the allied enemies that would defeat us, sin and guilt and devil and death. Like Shamgar, you have an opportunity and an ability and a personality like nobody else in life. Yours is absolutely unique. And the Lord is positive that He can use you and what you have to His glory and for the good of others. Christ is confident of that fact. Perhaps you are facing failing health or some physical disability. Maybe you are trying with both hands to tie ends together. Or maybe you are locked in some little corner where you cannot even use your abilities to the full potential. Or maybe the reverse is true for you. That life has thrown at you a challenge that simply overwhelms you, that you have so little to meet it with. Christ is absolutely confident of you, that you will carry on and you will carry through for Him. As my Father hath sent me, says Christ, even so send I you. And you can do it. My Father and I and you can do it. There's so much more we would like to know about the man Shamgar. But all that's given us to know is that he had one shining hour. Given the opportunity, he made the most of it. He did not wait for a more favorable opportunity or for better weapons that he could wield, nor did he wait till others came to join him and fight at his side. He lived in a troubled era, in some corner of the land so obscure we don't even know where it was. He was technically unqualified and untrained. And look at what the one man accomplishes. God keeping him, God helping him, God strengthening him. And now it's your day and mine. We too must plow in the fields of our own calling and face these 20th century Philistines about us on every hand. And the grace of God will not spare us the toil or the struggle. What Christ says is that we go out with God every day into the wilderness, and we live depending upon His manna. Now's our chance to play the game, to account for God before our day is done. Do you know how quickly the shadows lengthen and night comes, and our day will be eternally done? So may God help us everyone now. Amen.